Welcome to my channel, Zvangu Shona Customs and Traditions, where I revisit our traditional ways of doing things. So today we are going to look at the subject of barrenness or infertility. I don't know why I'm not comfortable using this word barrenness. Let me know if you have a better word. This is a situation where a couple had no mbereko, kushaya mbereko. So today I'm going to leave you to listen to a story that explains how this process was handled to solve this problem. So, as you know, among the Shona people, not having children was a big issue because children were very greatly valued because of their contribution to labor force. When people were farming on their fields, the more children he had, the better the labor force. And also, they valued children because of their importance of continuing with their family lineage. So today I'm going to leave you to listen to a short story that explains how this process was handled. I've done another video on covering a similar subject, so I've left a link in the description. So now I leave you to listen to the story. In traditional Shona society, barrenness or the inability to conceive children was a serious concern, as children were highly valued for the continuation of family lineage and labor contributions. So, what happened if a man died without having children with his wife? Let's find out. Join me as I dive into the rich traditions of the Shona people, where one family's journey shows the power of unity, resilience, and honoring those who came before them. Stay tuned for a story of heritage, hope, and the unbreakable bonds that last through generations. The village of many hills. In the small Shona village of Mazviwa, people said the hills had stories. The tall green hills surrounded the village, sheltering it like an elder's embrace. The birds chirped stories in the morning, and the winds whispered secrets at night. Everyone knew each other in Mazviwa, and the villagers shared their joys and their sorrows. In this village lived a kind man named Tawanda. Tawanda was strong and generous, known for his helpfulness. When someone needed a hand building a new hut, Tawanda was there. If an elder needed help fetching water, Tawanda was there with a smile. Tawanda was married to Chipo, a gentlewoman with a warm heart. She cared deeply for her husband and everyone in the village. People loved to visit Chipo's hut because she always welcomed them with warm tea and sweet stories. The only thing Tawanda and Chipo didn't have was a child, something they both hoped for. One evening, as they watched the sun set behind the hills, Tawanda turned to Chipo. One day, we will have children running around here, he said with a hopeful smile. Chipo smiled back, holding his hand. Yes, one day, she whispered, watching the golden sun dip behind the green hills. For now, they were happy with each other and their life in Mazviwa. They believed that in time, the ancestors would bless them with children. And if that time didn't come, they would still be content knowing they had each other. But fate had its own plans for Tawanda and Chipo, plans hidden deep in the folds of the hills that surrounded Mazviwa. A stormy night. One night, the skies above Mazviwa turned dark and heavy. Dark clouds gathered, and a rumble of thunder echoed over the hills. The villagers knew a big storm was coming. They rushed to bring their animals and children inside, closing their doors tight. In their small hut, Tawanda and Chipo sat close together, listening to the rain beating down on the thatched roof. The wind howled, making the hut creak and shiver. It's a powerful storm, Tawanda said, glancing at Chipo. She nodded, looking a bit worried. Though they were safe in their home, the storm outside seemed endless. That night, Tawanda felt his body grow tired and weak. As the rain fell harder, he shivered, feeling colder than he had ever felt. Chipo covered him with blankets, hoping he would warm up. She tried to comfort him, rubbing his hands and singing softly, but Tawanda's shivering did not stop. By morning, the storm had passed and the sun rose over the hills again, but Tawanda was still very weak. His face looked pale and his breathing was slow. Chipo worried deeply, so she called for the village healer, an elder named Sekurumutasa. Sekurumutasa came with his herbs and medicines. He placed his hands on Tawanda's forehead and muttered some words to the spirits. After a while, he turned to Chipo. "This sickness is strong," Sekurumutasa said, looking serious. "The ancestors must be told. We will ask for their guidance and protection." Chipo nodded, her heart heavy. She hoped with all her strength that Tawanda would recover, that he would be strong and healthy again. But inside, a small worry began to grow, like a shadow stretching across her heart, calling to the ancestors. The next day, the village gathered on the largest hill, where people went to speak to the ancestors. Everyone came to support Tawanda and Chipo. Family members, friends, even the children. Each one cared for Tawanda and wanted him to heal. The village elders led a ceremony to call upon the ancestors. They brought offerings of millet, maize, and a small clay pot of traditional beer to honor the spirits of the ancestors. Chipo, standing beside the elders, closed her eyes and held her hands tightly, hoping with all her heart that the ancestors would help her husband. Sekurumutasa spoke loudly, his voice echoing over the hilltop. "Spirits of our forefathers, we come to you with humble hearts. Tawanda is ill, and we ask for your healing and protection over him." The elders chanted, clapping their hands and stamping their feet as they called to the spirits. The villagers joined, filling the air with songs and prayers, each voice hoping to reach the ears of their ancestors. As the ceremony ended, a cool wind swept over the hill, and the people felt a sense of calm. Chipo took it as a sign, a gentle touch from the spirits, a promise of help. But when they returned home, Tawanda's condition grew worse. He could barely sit up, and he was too weak to speak. Chipo cared for him day and night, but the shadow of worry was growing. She tried to stay hopeful, telling Tawanda stories to keep his spirits up. One evening, Tawanda took Chipo's hand and whispered, "If I cannot stay, promise me, Chipo, that you'll be happy. Our family will continue even if I'm not here." Chipo held his hand tighter, tears in her eyes. She wanted to believe he would get better, but deep inside, she felt the fear that he might not. Saying goodbye. A few days later, Tawanda grew weaker. The villagers visited each day, bringing food and gifts, hoping to lift his spirits. But one evening, after the sun had set and the stars were beginning to glow, Tawanda gently closed his eyes and took his last breath. Chipo sat beside him, holding his hand, and she felt her heart break. She knew Tawanda's spirit would watch over her, but the emptiness he left was too deep to fill. The village came to her side, sharing her grief and helping her with the traditions to honor Tawanda's passing. In Shona culture, when someone dies, the village comes together to honor their life. The women sang soft songs of remembrance, and the men told stories of Tawanda's kindness and strength. The children sat nearby, listening and learning about the men who had been so important to their community. The elders guided Chipo through the mourning period, offering her comfort and prayers. Though Chipo felt sorrow, she also felt the love of the village around her. They promised her she was not alone and that the village would be her family. But there was still a question hanging in the air. Who would carry on Tawanda's family line? In Shona tradition, it was important that a man's family continue even if he had passed. Without children, Tawanda's name and memory could be forgotten. The elders gathered with Tawanda's family to discuss how to honor his memory. After a long discussion, they decided it was time to ask Takunda, Tawanda's younger brother, if he would help fulfill this duty. Chipo watched the elders gather, her heart heavy, yet curious. She knew her life was about to change again. Takunda's choice. Takunda was younger than Tawanda but had always looked up to him. He remembered playing games together as boys, fishing by the river, and learning how to build a strong heart. Tawanda had always been his guide, his role model. When Tawanda passed away, Takunda felt a great sadness, as if he had lost a part of himself. One evening, the village elders gathered Takunda and spoke to him about his late brother. Takunda, they said, Tawanda was a good man, and it is our duty to keep his memory alive. We ask you to stand in his place and marry Chipo so that his family may continue. Takunda was silent for a while. He knew the Shona tradition well, and he respected it deeply. But this decision was not easy. He thought of Chipo, a kindness and gentle nature. He knew that honoring his brother's memory was important, but he also wondered if Chipo would want him as a husband. After some thought, Takunda nodded. I'll speak with Chipo, he said. If she agrees, I will honor Tawanda's memory and take care of her, just as my brother would have. The elders nodded, pleased with his decision. They left Takunda with the task of speaking to Chipo, allowing them both to make this choice together. That night, Takunda walked to Chipo's hut, feeling a mix of sorrow and respect for the journey ahead. He hoped that together they could find a way to honor his brother and begin a new chapter in their lives. A new beginning. When Takunda reached Chipo's hut, he took a deep breath and knocked gently on the door. Chipo opened it, her face still touched with sadness, but her eyes warm as she welcomed him inside. They sat together in the soft light of the evening, listening to the quiet sounds of the village settling down for the night. After a moment, Takunda spoke, his voice soft and respectful. Chipo, the elders have asked me to fulfill Tawanda's duty. They want me to stand in his place so that his family line may continue. But I want to hear what you feel in your heart. Chipo looked at Takunda, feeling both comforted by his presence and uncertain about the future. She thought of Tawanda, of their dreams and the love they had shared. Then she looked at Takunda, seeing the same kindness in his eyes that she had seen in his brothers. After a pause, Chipo said, I love Tawanda deeply, and his spirit will always be in my heart. But I know that tradition is important, and I believe Tawanda would want us to carry on his family's name. If we can do this with respect and kindness, I am willing to start a new journey with you. Takunda nodded, feeling both honored and humbled by her words. Together, they agreed to honor Tawanda's memory and fulfill the family's wishes, building a life that respected the past but also looked forward to the future. That night, she felt a sense of calm, knowing that she and Takunda were united in honoring Tawanda. It was not the life she had first imagined, but it was a new beginning and one that held hope. The village's blessing. The next day, the village gathered to give their blessing to Chipo and Takunda's new union. The elders spoke words of respect for Tawanda's memory, and they praised both Chipo and Takunda for their courage in following the Shona tradition. The women of the village dressed Chipo in a beautiful wrap, decorated with patterns of green and gold. They braided her hair with beads, symbolizing the strength and beauty of a new beginning. The men prepared a meal, cooking millet, vegetables, and meat for a feast to honor the occasion. As Chipo and Takunda stood together, surrounded by their community, the village sang songs of blessing and hope. They wished the new couple a life of peace, happiness, and children who would carry on Tawanda's legacy. During the celebration, children danced and played around Chipo and Takunda, filling the air with laughter. The warmth of the village brought comfort to Chipo's heart, and she felt as though Tawanda was smiling down on them, giving his own blessing. As night fell, Chipo and Takunda returned to their heart, feeling the love of the village all around them. They were no longer just two individuals. They were a family bound by the memory of Tawanda and by the hope of a future filled with new life. In that moment, both Chipo and Takunda understood that the village would always be there for them, supporting them in this journey, building trust. As the days passed, Chipo and Takunda began to adjust to their new life together. They took things slowly, each learning more about the other. Though they'd always known each other as family, being husband and wife was different, and it required patience and understanding. Takunda was gentle and considerate, helping Chipo with her daily chores and listening to her stories about Tawanda. He respected the love Chipo had for his brother and never tried to replace it. Instead, he shared memories of Tawanda, laughing with Chipo about the funny moments they had all experienced together. One evening, as they sat outside their hut watching the stars, Takunda said, I want you to know that I will always honor Tawanda's memory. He was not only my brother, but also my friend. I promise to care for you and our future children with the same love you would have shown. She felt a warmth in her heart, knowing that Takunda truly understood the importance of her love for Tawanda. She began to see that Takunda was not only kind but also trustworthy, someone who valued family as much as she did. Slowly, a new bond began to form between them. It was not the same as the love Chipo had shared with Tawanda, but it was strong and built on respect and shared memories. Each day they grew closer, building a life together that honored both the past and the future. A special dream. One night, Chipo had a dream. In a dream, she was walking on a path through the hills with the sun shining brightly above her. She heard a voice calling her name, and when she turned around, she saw Tawanda smiling at her. Chipo, Tawanda said gently, I am proud of you. You have honored our family, and I am at peace. Takunda is a good man, and together you will build a beautiful family. Chipo felt a deep sense of peace as she listened to Tawanda's words. She reached out her hand to him, but he shook his head, smiling kindly. My spirit will always watch over you, but it is time for you to move forward. Remember, you are never alone. When Chipo woke up, she felt comforted by the dream. It was as if Tawanda had given her his blessing, letting her know that he was at peace and that he wanted her to be happy with Takunda. That morning, she shared the dream with Takunda, who listened carefully, his face thoughtful. Perhaps it is Tawanda's way of telling us that he is watching over us. Takunda said softly, his spirit will always be part of our family. Chipo smiled, feeling a newfound strength. She realized that she could embrace a future with Takunda while still cherishing the memory of Tawanda. A new hope. With Tawanda's blessing in her heart, Chipo felt ready to move forward. She and Takunda began to dream about having children, and they spoke often about what kind of parents they wanted to be. Takunda, who loved telling stories, imagined teaching their children about the history of their family and the strength of the Shona people. He wanted them to know about Tawanda's kindness and bravery, so his spirit would live on through their stories. Chipo, with a gentle heart, dreamed of teaching their children the values of love, respect, and community. She wanted them to understand the importance of family and the power of tradition. One evening, Chipo shared their thoughts with Takunda. I hope our children will carry Tawanda's spirit, that they will have his kindness and his courage. Takunda nodded, his eyes warm. They will, Chipo. With your heart and our family's love, they will be strong and proud. From that moment, Chipo and Takunda held on to the hope of building a family, feeling Tawanda's spirit guiding them. They were filled with a new purpose, one that united them in love and memory, ready to honor the past while building a future together. The first sign. The seasons changed, bringing warmth to the village and new growth to the hills around Maziwa. Chipo and Takunda continued their daily work, but something felt different. Chipo began to feel tired more often, and there were days when she wanted to rest more than usual. One day, while fetching water from the river, Chipo felt a small flutter in her stomach. She paused, surprised by the strange feeling. She, she didn't say anything to Takunda at first, but as the days went by, she noticed more signs. Her tiredness turned into gentle waves of nausea in the mornings, and she began craving the sweet wild fruits that grew in the hills. She shared her feelings with the village elder women who listened with knowing smiles. One of the elder women, Gogomandi, touched Chipo's hand and said, These are signs from the ancestors, Chipo. They are blessing you with new life. Hearing this, Chipo felt a mix of joy and excitement. That evening, she told Takunda about the elder's words, and his face lit up with happiness. We have a child, Takunda said softly, his eyes shining with joy. The ancestors have blessed us. They held each other close, feeling the love of the village and the spirit of Tawanda surrounding them. They knew this child would carry forward Tawanda's memory, fulfilling the promise they made to honor him. Preparing for new life. With the news of Chipo's pregnancy, the village came together to help prepare for the new arrival. The women gathered to make small clothes, stitching them from soft cloth and decorating them with colorful patterns. They sang songs of welcome, songs that celebrated the gift of new life and the strength of the Shona people. The men worked together to build a small crib for the strongest wood they could find. Takunda helped carve it, adding beautiful patterns along the sides. He poured his heart into the work, imagining the child who would one day sleep there. Each day, Chipo felt the life growing inside her and her excitement grew. She often talked to a baby, telling stories about the village, about Tawanda, and about the love that surrounded them. She wanted a child to know that they were deeply loved and that they would carry the spirit of Tawanda within them. Takunda watched over Chipo, making sure she rested and ate well. He shared stories and laughter, always there to lift her spirit. Together they filled their home with hope and joy, preparing for the day they would meet their child. The whole village shared in their excitement, knowing that this child would carry Tawanda's legacy. It was a time of joy, peace, a season of blessings that the village would remember for years to come. A special name. As Chipo's belly grew, she and Takunda began to think of names for their baby. They wanted a name that would carry meaning, a name that would remind everyone of Tawanda's spirit. One evening, as they sat together by the fire, Chipo suggested, "What if we name our child Rudo? It means love in Shona, and it will remind us that love brought us all together." Takunda smiled, liking the idea. Rudo is a beautiful name, he agreed. It reminds us of the love Tawanda had for his family and for this village. The name felt right, and soon everyone in the village began to call the baby Rudo, even before he was born. When the elders heard the name, they smiled and nodded, approving of its meaning and the love it represented. Chipo and Takunda spoke to the baby each day, calling the baby Rudo and telling the baby about the village, the hills, and the people who would be in his family. They wanted Rudo to feel connected to the land, the traditions, and the ancestors. As the weeks passed, Chipo felt a strong bond with her child, a feeling of love that filled her heart. She knew that Rudo would carry Tawanda's spirit and the love of the entire village. The arrival of Rudo. One early morning, as the sun began to rise over the hills, Chipo felt a stirring inside her. She knew the time had come for Rudo to enter the world. She called for Takunda, who quickly went to find the older women, asking for their guidance. The village women gathered around Chipo, comforting her and guiding her through the birth. They sang songs of strength, songs that praised the ancestors and called for their protection over the child. After hours of patience and strength, Chipo heard the first cry of her baby. The women smiled, lifting little Rudo into her arms. Chipo looked down at her child, feeling a wave of love and joy that filled her heart. Rudo was here and their family was complete. Takunda entered the hut, his face filled with pride. As he gazed at his new child, he reached down, gently touching Rudo's tiny hand. "Welcome, Rudo," he whispered. "You are a gift from the ancestors and you carry the spirit of Tawanda." The villagers celebrated the birth of Rudo, welcoming the new child with dances, songs, and blessings. It was a joyful day, one that brought the village together in love and gratitude. For Chipo and Takunda, Rudo was a blessing, a new life that honored Tawanda's memory and filled their hearts with hope for the future. Sharing stories. As Rudo grew, Chipo and Takunda loved sharing stories with their child. They told Rudo about Tawanda, the men whose spirit they carried and whose kindness lived on in their family. Rudo listened with wide eyes, curious about the uncle he had never met but felt so close to. Chipo would tell Rudo about how Tawanda helped the elders, fetched water for the village, and shared laughter with everyone he met. "Your uncle Tawanda was a man of great heart," she would say, a voice full of warmth. "He loved this village and its people." Takunda shared memories of their childhood, telling Rudo stories of how he and Tawanda climbed the hills, swam in the river, and dreamed of growing strong together. "He was like a mountain," Takunda would say, "always steady and strong. I hope you grow to be like him." As Rudo listened, they felt a connection to Tawanda, as if his spirit was there guiding them. Rudo grew up feeling proud of their heritage and the love that surrounded them. The stories gave Rudo strength and filled her with respect for the Shona traditions. The villagers also shared stories with Rudo, reminding her that she was part of something larger, a family, a village, and a legacy. Through these stories, Rudo learned about the power of love, memory, and tradition. And so, as Rudo grew, she carried Tawanda's spirit in her heart, knowing he loved and supported his family, and the village would always stand beside him. Rudo's curiosity. As Rudo grew older, her curiosity grew as well. She loved exploring the hills around the village, asking questions about the plants, the animals, and the stories behind each rock and tree. Rudo's favorite story was always about Tawanda, the uncle who had come before her. One day, as she walked with Takunda by the river, Rudo asked, "Baba, do you think I am like Uncle Tawanda?" Takunda smiled, placing a hand on Rudo's shoulder. "In many ways, yes," he said. "You have his kindness, his curiosity, and his courage. Tawanda would be proud to see the person you are becoming." Rudo thought about this, feeling proud and connected to a uncle. She wanted to honor Tawanda's memory and hoped that one day she would be as strong and brave as he was. Rudo's curiosity didn't stop with stories. She wanted to learn everything: how to plant seeds, how to build strong huts, and how to gather the herbs that Gogom Mandi used to heal people with. Takunda and Chipo encouraged Rudo's learning, teaching her the skills of her ancestors and passing down all the knowledge they had. Through these lessons, Rudo grew strong and wise, with a heart full of love for the village and the family that had raised her. She knew that just as Tawanda's spirit lived on in with them, she too would one day pass down these traditions to the next generation. And so Rudo's story ends, but the memory of Tawanda and the strength of the Shona traditions continue, carried forward in the hearts of every generation to come. To conclude, so this story clearly shows that in traditional Shona society, barrenness or the inability to conceive children was a serious concern, as children were highly valued for the continuation of family lineage and labor contributions. The Shona people traditionally addressed barrenness through a mix of spiritual, social, and practical interventions. For example, in this story, we see a married couple that struggled to conceive, and then the husband died, and then the brother was made to stand in as a surrogate to provide offspring for the family. This practice was culturally accepted as a way to ensure the family lineage continued through an alternative but still related male. So we've come to the end of this video. So if you have been moved by Rudo's journey of love, of family, and heritage, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And join me as I continue to explore more inspiring stories from the Shona culture, customs, and traditions in Zimbabwe. And remember, every family has a legacy worth sharing. What story would you like to see told next? So let me know in the comments.